I'm Blair Lancaster, and this is Placemakers, a show in which we interview people who are making a difference in the world and in their own communities. Today, my guest is Andrea Florian of Florian Realty Team. So welcome, Andrea. We're really pleased to have you today. And full disclosure, I've known you probably for about 8 years, and all that time, you've constantly been doing wonderful things for our community. So I thank you for that. But my first question before we ask you about some of those projects is why? Why are you doing what you do? Why do you think it's so important to support our community?
Well, I think in the grand scheme of things, you can go out and have big goals to make money and buy houses and, have a retirement plan and everything. But if you have no sense of purpose, then none of it means anything. And I think I realized that pretty early on in my life, that none of it was real. You can't take any of it with you. And the stuff that helps you actually sleep at night is not knowing how big your bank account is, but knowing that you feel good about yourself and what you've contributed and that you've done your best.
Wow, that's awesome. I mean, if everyone could learn that, we have a much better world for sure.
I think so.
It's so important. So tell me about some of the projects that you have underway and some of the things you do. I know you have some of them that you're doing on a weekly basis.
Right. So the main thing that we do as a real estate group is we do our Friday food drives. And that originally started out as once a year, big food drive around the fall season and then sometimes around Easter. But then once COVID hit and our business was completely dried up, rather than sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves, we saw that Robin Bailey from the food bank had posted a screenshot of the empty shelves and how dire the situation was and how many people were out of work, and actually that the food bank had a tremendous need, much larger than usual. And we thought, well, rather than feel sorry for ourselves, let's get out there and do something good and help. And it certainly kept us busy. In the first few weeks, we just decided to do porch pickup style for those who didn't want to actually have to leave the house, because obviously we were in pandemic times. Right. Sometimes we had as many as 70 families donating in 1 week. So it was busy. It was a lot to organize. And once the pandemic sort of slowed down a little bit, we were just in a position where you can't unsee what you've seen. And we had to keep going. And it's just something that's really dear to our hearts. And as our company within the community that supports us, this is our give back.
Well, and you have people dropping off donations every week, I guess.
Yeah, I think
you do a call, right? You send out an email just reminding everyone, and then they drop off.
Hit all the social media platforms and all of the Facebook groups for all of the different communities. We do a big email out. We call people. We're constantly rallying. Other businesses have come up and supported us, and we've had people run street parties and call us and say, we're running a street party. Can you guys come collect? So we found lots of people doing lots of creative things. Like one child on his street went and collected his whole street for us and door knocked everybody. And then we took a picture of him, of course, and posted it. There's just been a lot of feeling of like every little bit counts and this community matters. And it has felt really good to be a part of that.
Right. And you are actually in Burlington, but you're in the Alton area?
Yeah, we're in the north end of Burlington. It's a great spot to be because you can see the escarpment and get to the country in 5 minutes.
Right. That's very true. That's very true.
Yes. Well, growing up in Toronto, for me, you'd have to take 40 minutes to get to the lake. But here I'm 5 minutes south and I'm at the lake, and 5 minutes north and I'm at my favorite farm. So it's a bit different.
It's funny, isn't it? Because I grew up in Burlington, and I hate to say it, but when I was a kid, Walker's Line, Appleby Line, and Brand Street, they were all dirt roads, and even
yes.
So
yeah.
I've seen a huge change, but we are well positioned, and it's a great place to grow up for sure. And
absolutely,
certainly you're making it a better place too. Tell me about your tree planting.
Well, our tree planting will be happening in early May, and we haven't done one since the pandemic. But we've been able to gather a bunch of volunteers in the community, and the city, as you know, has an arborist who has come to help people understand and teach a little bit while he's there. And we're trying to encourage families to come out and volunteer to help us with the tree planting. And then come the fall, we're hoping that with the city efforts, we can also do some education on how to take care of the trees leading up into the fall to keep them in good care. So the trees that we planted several years ago with your efforts to help us on that are actually thriving really well. So I'm really pleased about that.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I personally really enjoyed that. I often look back on some of my photos of that day,
Yes.
Really special day.
It
And
was.
came from, even from Hamilton to participate because
No, it was
realizing
amazing.
how important it is. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
good for you. Good for you. And it's great that the city helps out with that too.
And it is. And for us as a real estate group, again, like we can run several events throughout the year. We certainly do. We run a family skating event, we run a Christmas party, we do that kind of stuff. But what means more for us and what we find the kind of clientele that we attract is the kind of people who want to teach their kids things and want to find a value that's not just about buying something or having like freebie stuff. Like that's all fun. But I think those pieces are really important and the community appreciates it because it's hard to find them sometimes.
No, very, very true. And if we could have learning in everything that we do, again, it would be a much better world. So that's lifelong learning is so important, and having fun while you're doing it is wonderful. It's a real bonus. My husband and I have a saying, if you're not having fun, then don't bother, really, because
we just said that this morning. Without a sense of humor, none of this means anything. They have to be able to roll with it, right?
Yeah. Are there any other activities that you're doing?
Besides the tree planting and the food bank right now, that's our major thing on tap. But as a real estate group, we're running some online webinars and seminars just because obviously the real estate market is changing once again. So we're just trying to offer education to people as much as we can. Yeah.
That's great.
Personally, I'm doing also some music on the side too.
Yes.
Because that is my first love. And I know you and I were talking about that earlier today. So that's been exciting. That was one thing that COVID gave me back as a gift is I was a full-time musician back in the day. And so I have several CDs and I've toured and traveled. But during COVID, I actually found the time to carve out to record a song again. And so I've sort of made a commitment to myself to keep that piece of me going as well and to show the kids, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you have
working on something right now that's going to be coming out soon again.
Great. Then you have a beautiful voice. Beautiful voice.
You.
So it's well, and they can find you just by typing in your name, Andrea Florian.
Yeah, and on Spotify, I'm and iTunes, and I'm on all of those venues as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So my next question is, I'm sure our discussion today is inspiring people to want to help. So how can they help you?
Well, the Friday food drives, basically we pick up every Friday starting at 10 a.m. And all you have to do is simply email us at hello@florianrealtyteam.ca with your name and your full address that week by Thursday so that we can include you in the Friday route. And just leave it on your front porch and we'll come collect it all. And that same afternoon, the food bank or Salvation Army or the women's shelter, whoever's in need that week will get our food. And if we're running any special drives, like Awesome Compassion has reached out to us in the past for coats, Food for Kids has reached out to us for a backpack drive. Any other groups in the city that are running any kind of events or have a need, we will support. And we've been in contact with many of them.
Okay. So money donations are probably accepted as well as donations of food.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we'll post that contact information at the end of the video for you.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the tree planting goes, I guess you need people to plant trees.
We do. So we're still working on whether or not it'll be the first or second week of May. We're waiting to confirm the date. So the best thing to do for that is to go straight to florianrealtyteam.ca because that's where we'll be keeping our blog posts updated or on our social media venues. And we'll be posting the dates there. Or just send us a note and we'll make sure that you're on our email list because we do send out a blast to everyone letting them know.
Great.
Yeah.
And I think the city provides the shovels and all that sort of thing.
I think the city will provide some. I had to provide some last time to help. And we did get a landscaping group involved with us last time as well to help support that. Right. So throughout, the people who are volunteering will not have to provide a shovel, although they can bring their own if they so desire. But there should be plenty of shovels there for everyone.
Okay, that's awesome. As an inspiration to our community, and I know there's lots of people out there that would like to contribute in the way that you are, what advice would you have to give them?
I would say don't be deterred by the smallest of ideas. This idea of doing a porch pickup drive on Fridays was something that started off like just as a little buzz in my head and started off really small. And we had 2 people the first week, and some weeks we have 0 people. but you just keep going and you just keep planting the seeds. And as you plant the seeds, and just be patient, as it is with business, as it was with anything you do, wherever you plant the seeds is where it's going to grow. And as I mentioned earlier on, I mean, we went from 2 and 3 people donating to 70 people donating a week. And we've had families donate that we've had to bring separate vehicles to them because they bring so much food that we're full up. But it started from nothing. And we still get some weeks where there's 0 people donating. And then all of a sudden we'll get 3 weeks of craziness. So I think just be consistent, as we are supposed to be with ourselves, and be gentle, and know that every little bit matters. And even if it's just that little boy collecting 5 houses on his own street, that little bit created a whole cascade of events that helped us create an entire bin of food for the food bank volunteers. And you should just see their faces when any little bit arrives. They're so grateful. And the other thing I've learned too is not to be so judgmental to ourselves and others, because sometimes we're so self-critical that we just sit there in analysis paralysis and we just don't do things. Sometimes you just got to get up and do it, and not judge others, because you don't know what they're doing in their lives to try to make themselves better, or try to make an effort to do something as well. And it's so easy to get caught up in judgment of ourselves or others and just not actually go out there and do things. And I think when you're doing things, you don't have time for judgment, and you just let that all go, and you just make some good stuff happen.
Good advice. And thank you so much again for joining us today. And that's Placemakers with Andrea Florian and myself, Blair Lancaster.
Thank you.